CD Projekt executive pokes fun at Ubisoft. This is the last article I have. I'm so happy to look. I mean, CD Projekt, you guys know, I've been critical of CD Projekt Red mainly because of their terrible baiting of people into buying games that were wholly unfinished. Should not have been released when they were. Witcher 3 was one, and then they did even worse with, Cyberpunk. That's not acceptable. I don't care if it's CDPR or any other company. They're not the only company I bag on for that. But they've done a very poor job at that, of treating their fan base, their consumer base, that way. When they bait people into this premise of promising, these big marketing ploys of amazing products, and then they release them wholly unfinished. That's not fair. It's never fair. It doesn't matter what company it is. And that's one of the reasons I've been critical of CDPR. But on the flip side of that, CDPR has done some things here recently, made some statements that has put them into a better light for me. They've come out with some statements that have said, we know we've messed up. We are trying to learn from our mistakes. We read towards the end of last year, they came out with an article talking about that kind of sentiment, and obviously I need for them to prove that to me before I'm willing to, say, yeah, they are actually learning. They're doing better. They're not going to do this to us again, right? I need proof of that. But it's at least good to hear them say that they're trying to learn from their mistakes. I need to see it, but it's good to hear that. And what was the recent thing we saw from CDPR, man? There was something else that recently came out from them that I was like, well, this is actually pretty cool. And I just can't think off the top of my head right now. I'm a little bit tired today. And now there's this, and this is funny because this is the same thing that, it was the monetization stuff. Yeah, that's what it was. So with all the issues coming out around like Dragon's Dogma 2 and being a single player game, obviously it has like an online component to it, but it's a single player game. And it's just riddled with monetization for real world money. And CDPR came out and said, we don't see that a single player titles have being a place for microtransactions to thrive. That's not the way that we see the gaming industry and our products especially are not going to have that kind of thing. And it was good to hear that, I agree. It was gross to see what Dragon's Dogma 2 has done with trying to put microtransactions in a single player title like that and build mechanics around that kind of thing too. Feels quite gross. So hearing CDPR say that felt really good. And now we have this morning, which is phenomenal because I was making fun and literally stating the same thing about Ubi and the way that they were trying to say Skull and Bones is a quadruple A game. And I was like, well, where's our octuple A, and quintuple A? What's next, dude? Like, how stupid. It was really, really dumb to hear the CEO of Ubi try and call Skull and Bones. And it was like they were trying to hype it up. They were trying to basically defend the fact that they were pushing out Skull and Bones, which is supposed to be a live service game, right? At a $70 price tag. And we've seen some terrible issues with this here lately of like games that are supposed to be live service, where you're supposed to be more worried about a player base than pushing it out at a AAA price tag, but I think it's a pretty good indicator that if you're not real comfortable and you're not, what's the word I'm looking for? If you're not real satisfied with the product you're pushing out, and you're not confident in the fact that it's going to be able to pull in a large player base to be able to sustain for the long haul, I think that what you see is these companies are pushing out their game at a AAA price tag to try and recoup investment. recoup the investment from development and for the project as a whole, because they want to try and get back as much as they can as fast as they can before people find out how bad it is and go, oh yeah, I don't want to be a part of that, right? We saw it with Suicide Squad, AAA price tag. They didn't want to give out review copies of the game beforehand. You know, there was a lot of red flags about that game. It's apparently very mediocre to subpar all the way around. And if they really cared about making a game that was for the long haul, they wouldn't have made it a AAA price tag. They would have been more worried about making sure people could get into the game and experience the great content it offered. Maybe not free, but not a AAA price tag, and building that player base for a substantial amount of time. But that's not what they did. And same thing for Skull and Bones. We knew it wasn't going to be good, right? AAA price tag, a game that took them how long? Dude, they started making this game like, what, almost a decade ago? You know, it's had, 9 or 10 delays for release. It's kind of crazy. And we knew all along that it wasn't going to be phenomenal. And there were too many red flags, too many indicators that this game was going to be pretty not, you know, top tier quality. But of course, Ubi and Yves Guillemot, the CEO and owner of Ubi, was trying to say, well, you know, it needs to be a $70 price tag because this is a quadruple A game, which had the entire gaming industry just losing it, right? Like cracking up. Made them look ridiculous, and everybody was memeing about it, myself included. And it's funny to see CDPR hop on board as well. So so CD Projekt executives poke fun at Ubisoft's quadruple A game, Skull and Bones, and says the studio will now make quintuple A games. The Witcher and Cyberpunk 2077 publisher throws some shade. Yeah. CDPR executive has slightly poked fun at fellow publisher Ubisoft in its failed attempt to label Skull and Bones as a quadruple A game. AAA is usually a label given to blockbuster games by big money companies to signify that, yes, these games were expensive to make. The label is normally meaningless. At best, it gives us a sense of a game's budget. At worst, it's marketing jargon used to convince people, potential customers, that high production values make a game good. Ubi attempted to pull a similar stunt when releasing its multiplayer pirate ship romp Skull and Bones earlier this year. CEO Yves Guillemot previously called the endlessly delayed game a quadruple A release to justify its $70 price tag, as I spoke about before, an argument that beta players strongly disagreed with. The topic of ever-increasing A's also came up in a recent financial Q&A chat with CDPR's investor relations VP Carolina, is that Nas? One question jokingly asked whether The Witcher and Cyberpunk 2077 studio reassesses its AAA only stance amid Ubi's comments. Ours will be, is that quintuple? Is that even how you spell that? Hold on. I want to make sure I'm kind of a three-head, so... Yeah, 5 times. Yeah, so I got it. Dude, I'm not that dumb. I'm on it. You like this song, Florida? You like this? We'll go to the next one. Meet me at the club. Yeah, sorry. I'm focused. I wasn't even listening to the music. I was just going. So the top, yeah, so reassessing the... One question jokingly asked whether The Witcher and Cyberpunk 2077 studio would reassess its AAA only stance amid Ubi's comments. Ours will be quintuple A, Nas responded. Video game budgets have become unsustainable, and thus the AAA arms race has officially begun. Skull and Bones marked the first quadruple A game in history. Ridiculous. CD Projekt Red dares to unleash the world's first quintuple A game, The Witcher 4, and a Cyberpunk sequel. We all know that CDPR has about 4 Witcher games in production right now. Polaris being the one that is coming to us the soonest. Who Who will pick up the mantle, write the check, and dare to develop? God dang, dude. In more serious news, the publisher also shared that Witcher 4 will introduce gameplay elements and new mechanics not seen in the original trilogy. Trilogy? I can't talk. Don't have much more information about the upcoming RPG yet. Even its name is unconfirmed, though. CDPR won't be replacing developers with AI to make the sequel. At least that's what they're trying to confirm. Yeah, I mean, look. I think it's funny to see these other companies meme on this, you know, but you know, CDPR needs to prove some things themselves. Yeah. Like I said before, CDPR has some things to prove to myself, and I think a lot of other there's not hardly any, you know, other developers that can stand up to CDPR content-wise. Their content is incredibly good. It really is. But I'm sorry, you can't experience the content of a game if the performance is balls, you know? And they've had a really The Witcher 3's release was not fantastic. Cyberpunk's was abysmal. It was nightmarish. It was really bad all across the board. And they baited 13 million people into buying that game. They knew it wasn't ready. It's not acceptable. You can't do that, dude, you know? They've been lucky enough that their content's so good people have overlooked it for the most part. But they need to show us they can do better. It's good to see these big companies calling each other out for this wild kind of these wild comments and stuff, but it's not like CDPR doesn't have some things to prove themselves. Yeah. So hopefully, and again, they've been doing some things that really have put them in a better light for me here recently, and I'm hoping to see them follow through with proving some of this through their actions, and that because that's what I need. I need some of that from CDPR, but it's still hilarious.